Okay, and we're back with another video. And today, what I want to accomplish is to talk about Mark chapter 8, verses 34 through 36. And what it's entailing is that taking up your cross, following Jesus, but also it entails about gaining and losing. And that's what I want to accomplish in this video. All right, so let's go. So I'm gonna read the scripture, and then we can talk about and break it down about what it says. So in Mark chapter 8, verses 34 and 36, it says this. It says, "Then he called to the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. For whosoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me and the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and forfeit their soul?'" So let's deal with taking up your cross and following Jesus, but also denying yourself. So if we go back with a little history, the people that Mark is writing to, the majority of them are Roman, right? And the thing about that is that when a Roman would hear you say, "Take up your cross," that Roman citizen truly know what taking up your cross meant. And what that means is that when you would take up a cross, or when the Roman government would prosecute or accuse a criminal, or they would be found guilty, they would die on the cross. So the irony in that is that Jesus was innocent, but he was dying on the cross like a criminal. But in the time of this, in Rome, the people knew what taking up your cross meant, meaning that you would die on the cross as a criminal. But what it did show is that it would show complete submission to the Roman government. But then the beautiful picture about the way Christ says it here and the way Mark writes it is that taking up your cross to follow Jesus shows complete submission to him and his will and his teachings. So when Jesus asks us to take up our cross, he's asking us to submit ourselves to his will and his teachings, but also denying ourselves, meaning those unnecessary things or the things that's in our life that can hinder us from taking up our cross, meaning that we may waste time to spend time with God, or like everybody, we may get lazy and don't spend enough time with God. So it's that denying of yourself to be in God's presence, or to be in God's will, and to follow Jesus. So that denying yourself and taking up your cross works hand in hand with what Jesus is teaching here. So like I said, when he asks you to take up your cross, it shows complete submission to what Jesus wants to do with his teachings and what he wants to do in your life. But the way that works and connects with verse 35, and it says, "Whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. But whoever wants to save their life will lose it," right? So if we think about this, is that if we really want to try to save our life, save ourselves, we really lose in the end. But if we lose our life for Christ and his gospel, then we really save it. So the irony here is kind of kind of upside down, really what we're gaining and losing, right? Because if we gain a mindset of self-dependence or self-dependence in the world or depending on the world, and we want to save our life, meaning that our own ambitions or our self-centeredness, we want to hold on to that and save our life, thinking that we can do it on our own, we really lose our life, right? But if we show total submission to Christ and what he teaches, and we lose those self-centered things and we lose our self-centered mindset and learn dependence on him, we really can save our life, right? And then Jesus talks about this in verse 33. What good is it if someone gains the whole world and forfeits their soul? So if you don't know what forfeit is just giving up. Like you see in the movies or sometime in older movies or older cartoons, they're waving a white flag. I give up. Or if you watch MMA, if somebody is into submission and they tap out on the mat, they're forfeiting, they're giving up of whatever they're doing. So they're just giving up. And Jesus is asking, what good is it if someone just gives up their soul, right? Gives up and not submitting to what he wants to do with us as his creation and not submitting to him. Gaining the whole world. Like we have seen in the world, we've seen people who start off one way. They may gain the world, gain fame and popularity, and then they change into something totally different. And it's not just famous people. We may have seen somebody growing up even in our neighborhood that may have started one way, and the world changed them because maybe they were influenced by culture or maybe influenced by family members, and they change. But even so, in the context of this scripture, Jesus, in a few verses before this, had predicted his death. And he's basically telling the disciples, don't lose your soul because I'm going away. Physically, because he's dying on the cross. Don't throw away everything that I've taught you and you've seen. But that's what I believe Jesus speaks to us here. Don't just throw away everything that he's taught you because of influence of the world. Or maybe you have become famous and your views are starting to change, your worldview, and you start to think differently about things, and you just kind of let your values of Christ go. So what good is it if we don't deny ourselves, don't take up our cross, show complete submission to God as best as we can, and then we lose our life and don't save it, or let Jesus save it, and then we gain the world, and then we lose our soul? So I just wanted to talk about denying ourselves, taking up our cross, but also don't forfeit what God has taught you. Don't forfeit what God is showing you. Don't forfeit what God has you to do just to gain the world. Stand firm. Maybe it's something we may be dealing with out in the public. Maybe it's something we may be dealing with in secret. But don't forfeit everything that God has done for you. Don't forfeit the change that he has brought into your life just to gain something that will basically help you lose your life, as Jesus talks about here. We want to gain life through him. Lose your life for the sake of the gospel and what Christ is teaching. And I hope this blessed you. I hope this encourages you to continue to submit to Christ, his teachings, and to walk and be more like him. So that's what I wanted to accomplish in this video, and I hope to see y'all next time.